Section 2. Virtual Machine Installation. In this section, you will practice creating and setting up a virtual machine through the Workstation Player and SSH Access through the Mobile Xterm program. Part 1. Create and set up a virtual machine. The Workstation program, developed by VMware, which supplies software related to computer virtualization, is a utility for building a single virtual machine in a local environment. It was first released in 1999 and is still widely used by Windows and Linux users. There are two types of Workstation: a paid professional version and a non-commercial freeware version. The software to be used in this training is a Workstation Player freeware. Before we get started, let's check the installation requirements. The virtual machine uses the Ubuntu 22.0 for image as its operating system, and requires a CPU with 4 cores or more, 10 GB of free memory, and 30 GB of free disk space. You will also need an internet connection to install the virtual machine. Now let's start the exercise on installing the virtual machine. First, follow the link written on the textbook and download Workstation installation file and run the downloaded file. As of May 2023, the latest version is 17, so we recommend using 16 or later to ensure a smooth progress of the exercise. While we download the Workstation Player installation file, let's download the Ubuntu image to use as our operating system. Ubuntu is an operating system based on the Linux kernel, with new versions released about every 6 months. For this course, we'll use version 22.04, which was released in February 2023. Follow the link in the textbook to download the image for your desktop. Now let's proceed with the installation of the virtual machine on the Workstation Player. 1. Create a virtual machine. Launch VMware and select the topmost menu, Create a new virtual machine. In the next step of selecting the guest operating system, select the third Install Later option, and click the Next button. Select the guest operating system as Linux and the version as Ubuntu 64-bit, then click Next. Input the virtual machine name, and select the path to install, then click Next. Setting of the VM disk size. For the maximum disk size, input more than 30 GB for smooth processing. The minimum disk size to use Ubuntu is 20 GB. Select Store Virtual Disk as single file to avoid performance degradation, then click the Next button. On the next page to Create Virtual Machine tab, confirm your settings so far, and click the Customize Hardware button for additional hardware settings. Set the virtual machine's memory to at least 12 GB and the processor to at least 4 core. If you set it below these specifications, the exercise may not run smoothly due to insufficient memory, so be sure to set it as required above or greater than. Enter the new CD/DVD tab to select the following image. In the second connection menu, click Use ISO Image File button. Then click the Browse button to select the Ubuntu 22.04 image you downloaded earlier. After completing this, click the Close button at the bottom to finalize the hardware settings. In the Create Virtual Machine window, check if the settings are correct and click the Finish button. When you're done, you should now see the name of the virtual machine on the left side of your workstation that you just created. Double-click the name of the VM to run it, and your screen should look like the screen shown on the right. In this command window, select the First Try or Install Ubuntu option to install Ubuntu. Note that you can move the cursor to the Windows screen by pressing the Ctrl and Alt keys simultaneously on the Ubuntu screen. Let's proceed to Ubuntu installation. Select the language according to your preference. Then click Install Ubuntu. Select language for keyboard layout. Next, we will set up the contents related to Ubuntu installation. In the question asking the app installation type, select the general installation selected as the default setting, and in other settings check the Download Updates item during Ubuntu installation. Click the Continue button. Similarly, clear the disk for the installation, verify that the Ubuntu installation is selected, and click the Install Now button. In the next pop-up screen asking if you want to use the changed settings in the disk, click Continue. To make the time equal to the location you are in, select your location. The last step for Ubuntu installation, is to input account information. Input the username and password to use as Ubuntu account. Then click Continue to start installation. After the installation is done, a pop-up notifying completion of the installation will appear. Click Restart to finish installation. To restart to Ubuntu, press the Enter key. From the home screen of Ubuntu, run terminal and install SSH package to remote control the Ubuntu. After accessing to the terminal of the Ubuntu, use the command shown at the bottom of the textbook, or the script file. Use the first command to install Open SSH package. Then the second command to check the IP address of the virtual machine where Ubuntu is installed. The output of the APA command will give two results as shown on the second picture on the textbook. Result 1 is the network interface information for internal connection. And from the result 2, the IP address shown at the right side of inet tag is the IP address to be used for remote control. Copy the address and this completes the virtual machine installation. Just for your information, when the virtual machine is not working normally, and you want to restart the virtual machine, click the Stop button at the top of the VM screen and click Restart Guest. Part 2. SSH Access. To be followed by installation of terminal program for Windows. The program we will be using for this training exercise is MOBA Xterm. MOBA Xterm is a remote accessing program used to access the server from local system. We will be using this program since it provides secure file transfer protocol, which allows you to upload and download files directly. Follow the link at the textbook for MOBA Xterm installation. After installation, run the program. The initial screen of MOBA Xterm shown in the textbook, with the main function icons arranged at the top. Among them, click the session icon to create a new session, then enter the IP address queried from the Ubuntu terminal. In the remote host field, enter your own username in the Specify Username field on the right, and click the OK button to complete the session creation. On the remote connection, enter the password in the terminal window to execute the SSH connection. We'll proceed to installation and update for package tool for building application deployment environment. Enter the command for installation and update of the required package. Before we end section 2, let's learn about the VIM editor used in the exercise process for editing files. VIM is a VI-compatible text editor, based on the command line user interface. Just think of it as an improved version of VI. Let's take a quick look at how to use the VIM editor. In the command line, type VIM followed by a file name to launch the VIM editor. When you start editing with the VIM command, you will be in normal mode. To edit text, you need to switch to insert mode, which you can do by pressing I. Then, enter the text you want to edit and press ESC to switch back to normal mode. If you want to switch back to normal mode after editing, type a colon to switch to command line mode at the bottom. Once you're in command line mode, type WQ and press enter to save the file, and exit the VIM editor. Alternatively, you can type a colon and WQ at the same time, to get the same result. This concludes section 2. Virtual machine installation. In the next section, we will have an exercise on installing Minikube and Podman.